Hey everyone, this week's AI news has been crazy. Headlines feel like they're straight out of sci-fi. We're talking billion-dollar deals, top-secret projects, even AI fighting off pandemics.
It really is a fascinating time to be into AI. We're seeing cutting-edge tech, big business, even global health, all driven by advancements in AI.
Yeah.
What we're seeing now, it's going to have a huge impact for years.
I totally agree. And there's a lot to unpack. Google just dropped a cool $2.7 billion with a B to bring back a former engineer, Noam Shazeer. Who is this guy? Yeah. And what makes him worth that much cash?
It seems like Google really didn't want to let him get away a second time. Shazeer's a big name in AI, known for co-founding Character.ai after leaving Google the first time. But it's not just about one guy. It's about what he represents. Google and everyone else. They're all in a race to dominate the future of AI, conversational AI specifically. They see Shazeer's work as a key part of that.
Makes sense. Especially when you think about Google's own AI chatbot, Gemini. For those who haven't seen Character.ai, can you break down what it is and why Google's so interested in it?
Imagine chatting with Albert Einstein about relativity or debating philosophy with Aristotle. That's the kind of experience that Character.ai offers. It uses AI to create these super realistic chatbots. They can mimic personalities and writing styles of real people living and dead, even fictional characters, like bringing your favorite book characters to life. Google probably sees the potential to put this tech into things like Gemini, make it a more immersive experience for users.
It's kind of wild to think about. And makes you wonder about the downsides. Speaking of downsides, things are getting a little tense over at OpenAI, the ChatGPT people. Lots of buzz about internal stuff, big names leaving, potential shift in their goals. What's going on over there?
OpenAI is in an interesting spot. It's like they're at a crossroads. When they first popped up, they were all about open source, ethics-first approach to AI. It really resonated with people. But as they've become more commercially focused, big investments from Microsoft, it's sparked a debate. Are they staying true to their original vision?
That's got to be tough to deal with. On one hand, you have the potential to make a real difference. But you need the money to keep going and compete. It makes you wonder how anyone in AI even handles that kind of dilemma.
It's complicated. No easy answers. And it highlights a much bigger question that's only going to get tougher as AI gets more powerful. How do we balance the good that this tech can do with the responsibility to make sure it's used ethically?
That's a question we'll be dealing with for a while. But before we get too serious, let's switch gears. Talk about something a little more uplifting, AI being used to fight pandemics. Did I read that right?
You did. This is where AI's ability to analyze tons of data and predict things could be a game changer. We're already seeing it used to track diseases, identify potential outbreaks early, and even speed up the creation of new medicines.
Wow. So it's like having an early warning system for the next big health crisis. Can you give us some specific examples of how this works?
One cool example is using AI to analyze what people are saying on social media. Researchers have found that by watching keywords and phrases about being sick on sites like Twitter, they can actually spot flu outbreaks days before traditional methods. It's like tapping into what the internet knows about how healthy everyone is.
It's kind of scary to think that something as simple as a tweet could predict a flu outbreak. It shows you how powerful AI is at connecting the dots in ways we never could before.
It really does. And that's only one way AI is being used to get us ready for pandemics. Scientists are also making AI models that can look at genetic data from viruses, to predict how likely they are to mutate and maybe cause future outbreaks.
That's wild. It's like AI has given us a whole new set of tools to fight back against these global health threats. While we're on the topic of AI shaking things up, we can't ignore the big one, AI and jobs.
Yeah, it's something that makes a lot of people anxious. And it's understandable. The thought of machines taking our jobs can be kind of scary.
To say the least. But what do you think about it? Is it really a simple swap robots for humans, or is it more complicated than that?
It's definitely more complicated. While it's true that AI will automate some stuff and some jobs will disappear, it's not just a case of robots taking over. What's more likely to happen is a change in the types of skills that'll be important.
So instead of being replaced by AI, we'll be working with it.
Exactly. And this partnership between humans and AI will require us to adapt, learn new skills. Things like critical thinking, solving tough problems, creativity, emotional intelligence. These are all things that humans are good at. They'll be even more valuable in an AI-driven world.
I see what you mean. It's not about knowing how to code or program a robot. It's about being able to think for yourself, come up with new solutions, and deal with the human side of work, even as things become more automated.
Right. And this means that both people and companies need to change their thinking. We got to embrace the idea of always learning, be willing to adapt and gain new skills, and accept that the jobs of the future might look completely different from the jobs we have today.
It's like we're entering a whole new stage of human evolution, one where our ability to change and work with technology will decide whether we succeed or not.
I think you're right. And just like with any big change in society, there are going to be some bumps in the road. But by being adaptable, being curious, and willing to learn new things, we can get through these changes and use the power of AI to create a better future for everyone, a more prosperous and equal future.
Definitely a future worth working towards. But speaking of technology changing the future, we can't forget about self-driving cars. It seems like every day there's a new headline about some big breakthrough in autonomous vehicles.
It's an area where we're seeing incredible progress, and it has the potential to completely change transportation as we know it. Imagine a world with no car accidents, where cars talk to each other to find the best routes and avoid traffic jams. Imagine just sitting back, relaxing, and enjoying the ride, while your car takes you wherever you need to go safely.
That sounds like something out of a sci-fi movie. How realistic is that, though? Are we really that close to a driverless future?
We're getting closer all the time. Self-driving cars are already being tested in cities all over the world. Companies like Tesla, Google, Uber, they're all spending billions on research.
That's exciting, but it does make you wonder, what happens to all the truck drivers, taxi drivers, delivery drivers, all those people whose jobs depend on driving?
That's a really important point. Like any major technological shift, there will be job losses. It's important for people making policies and leaders in the industry to see these changes come in and create programs to help those workers, retrain them, and give them support.
It reminds us that as amazing as AI and automation are, we can't forget about the human cost of progress. We got to make sure that everyone benefits from these advances, not just a select few.
I completely agree. And it's not just about jobs. It's about making sure that these technologies are created and used in a way that's safe, ethical, and benefits all of society. For example, with these autonomous vehicles, we need to think about more than just if they work. We have to consider the ethical problems they might face on the road.
Like what happens when a self-driving car has to make a split-second choice, a decision that could hurt someone? It's a moral dilemma we've never had to program into a machine before.
It's totally new territory. And we need to be thoughtful about how we approach it. How do we program these vehicles to make ethical choices in situations where there's no right or wrong answer? How do we make sure they operate safely and responsibly in the real world, which is messy and unpredictable?
Those are tough questions with no easy answers.
You're right, they are. But they're questions we need to be thinking about now, as we build the foundation for a future where AI is more and more a part of our lives. And speaking of tough ethical questions, there's maybe no area where AI is more important than in war.
You're right. We can't talk about AI without talking about the elephant in the room, or maybe the killer robot on the battlefield. The idea of autonomous weapons, machines that can decide who lives or dies without a human being involved. It's something that's bothered me for a long time. It is kind of creepy to think about autonomous weapons, like we're crossing a line.
It's a super complex issue. There's a big global movement. People want a complete ban on these autonomous weapons. Their argument is machines should never be able to kill people. They see it as morally wrong, potentially a huge disaster waiting to happen.
I get it. It's hard to disagree with that.
Yeah.
But I'm guessing there's another side to this. What are the arguments for autonomous weapons?
People who support them say these systems could make war safer for civilians and soldiers. They say machines aren't like humans. They don't feel fear or anger or panic in the moment. AI-powered weapons could be programmed to follow strict rules, potentially less civilian casualties, less collateral damage.
So they're saying robots would be more accurate, less likely to make mistakes or act impulsively compared to a human soldier.
Right. They also say these systems could keep soldiers off the battlefield, potentially saving lives. But the people against autonomous weapons, they say that's way too optimistic, that it doesn't factor in how unpredictable war is. They say there's no way an algorithm, no matter how smart, can really understand a battlefield.
Sounds like an impossible situation. On one hand, you could save lives. On the other, machines are making life or death decisions.
Exactly. This is about more than just technology or the military. It's about the role of technology in our world and the limits we put on it. As AI gets more advanced, these conversations are only going to get more important.
It's a lot to think about, and it really highlights how AI isn't just ones and zeros. It's about our values, our ethics, the kind of future we want. Let's switch gears a little. I want to talk about something else with AI that's really captured people's imaginations. AI and art and creativity.
Oh, yeah. It's an interesting one. For centuries, we thought creativity was a human thing. But now, we see AI writing music, poetry, even making visual art.
It's incredible, but also kind of freaky. If AI can make art, What does that even mean for human artists?
It's a question a lot of people are wrestling with. We have to remember, AI right now doesn't really understand or have intention. It can copy styles, recognize patterns, generate stuff, but it doesn't have real emotions or its own artistic vision.
So maybe it's more like AI is a tool to help human creativity, not replace it.
It's a team effort. AI can help artists explore new things, try different techniques, even automate the boring parts. That frees them up to focus on the bigger picture, the ideas behind their work.
I like that AI is a creative partner. It'll be interesting to see where that goes as the tech gets better. And speaking of getting better, what about artificial general intelligence, AGI? The kind of AI that can actually think and learn like a person, not just do specific tasks.
AGI. The dream of AI research still sounds like sci-fi, but that's not stopping people from trying to make it happen. If they do, the possibilities are huge.
It's mind-blowing. If we create machines as smart as us, who knows what we could achieve? But wouldn't that create a whole new set of problems, ethical ones?
Of course. How do we make sure AGI follows our values? How do we keep it under control? How do we make sure nothing bad happens because of it? We need to start finding answers now, even if AGI is still years away.
Lots to think about. But maybe, if we can figure out how to do AI the right way, it could help us solve some of the world's biggest problems. We've talked about healthcare and education, but what about climate change, poverty, war?
AI could completely change those areas. Imagine AI helping us find clean energy solutions, making sure resources are distributed fairly, maybe even helping us resolve conflicts and work together globally.
Now that's a future I can get behind. It's exciting and a little scary to think about how AI could change the world in the next few years.
It is. And we're all shaping that future, whether we know it or not. Stay informed, stay curious. And most importantly, keep talking about how we want to use and integrate AI into our lives.
Couldn't have said it better myself. That about wraps up this deep dive. We've gone over a lot today, but this is just the beginning when it comes to AI. Until next time, keep exploring, keep asking questions, and keep those AI algorithms on their toes.